Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session on leading teams through change, which is being sponsored by Salesforce. So my name's Steve Briers, I'm Editor-in-Chief of AM, and I'll be your chair for the next hour. I should just mention that 11 o'clock we will be stopping for the 2-minute silence. I think it'll be announced, but we'll certainly let you know so you can pay your respects. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has presented unprecedented and unique challenges to businesses across the world, with automotive retailers closing showroom doors, furloughing staff, and then, of course, ramping back up as the market bounced back. In this session, Kevin Gaskell will offer his perspective on the future of the automotive industry and how leaders can inspire their teams to drive positive results during both the good times and the challenging times. After his presentation, we'll then be joined by Matthew Simpkins at Salesforce for your questions. As CEO of 4 world-class brands, and an entrepreneur that has built international companies, Kevin has created more than £3 billion in shareholder value, and yet has still found time to climb the world's highest mountains, walk to both the North and South Poles, compete in international sport and play in a rock band, really living up to that automotive entrepreneur and adventurer status. His energy and leadership has helped companies including Porsche, BMW, Lamborghini, Epix and Eurotax glasses to achieve outstanding levels of customer service and financial performance. He passionately believes that ordinary people can deliver extraordinary results, given the invitation to believe in the goal and the opportunity to contribute towards its achievement. In short, he is the perfect person for this session. So, get those questions ready and please welcome Kevin Gaskell.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. As you've just heard, I believe that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results. But I also believe that that begins with a dream. People have a dream. We're all passionate. Everybody's passionate about something. It might be business, but it might be art, it might be sport. People are passionate beings. And I have lived my life by encouraging and inviting people to bring their passion to work, to come in and build something that's extraordinary. In our businesses, we don't talk about giving me another 2% return on sales or another 0.5% market penetration, because most of the people who I work with don't know what that means. It doesn't mean anything to them. What we talk about is let's build something that's extraordinary. Let's build something that we can look back on, and say, hey, look what we built. 20 years ago, I walked away from the motor industry. Kind of. I had the best job in the sector, I thought. I was running BMW, I'd inherited that business, and I was told, Kev, please grow it at 4% per annum. That was the plan I was given. And when I looked at it, it wasn't exciting. Didn't get me excited, didn't get the team excited. And there were lots of other brands coming to take our business. So we rethought our company. We looked at everything we did, we took it apart, we put it back together. And over the next 4 years, instead of growing that business at 4%, we grew that business by 80%. We grew operating profit by 500%. And then I wanted to do something different. Then I wanted to go and find a fresh challenge for myself. I walked away from manufacturing and I started a technology business. Today, that technology business is a global company. We had a lot of fun building it. It was a fantastic team of people. But what was different was we looked at the sector, we looked at the industry and said, we can do this better. This can be done better. I believe this thing called the internet is going to change the world. And I couldn't get my company, and I couldn't get the dealers I was working with to think quickly enough, think big enough. And I thought, you know what? I'll go and do it for myself. So I stepped out. And I didn't tell anybody where I was going, and I heard all the rumors, all these crazy rumors. I'd had a nervous breakdown. I'd been caught with my fingers in the till. I was having an affair with the chairman's wife and making a bad job of it. All these stories were flying around. In truth, I wanted to go out and build something that would excite me. And so we went out and we built this business that became Epix. It was about thinking about how the industry could change, about how the sector could change. The challenge we had is summed up here. we overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. And we couldn't get dealers to work with us quickly enough to take this product to market. We wanted to sell cars online, but with dealers. And we couldn't get the dealers to come on board. It was before anybody believed that the internet could sell cars. So we went to the fleet sector, and we helped to transform the fleet sector. Today, the world's moved on. You know, we're all very familiar with the changes in consumer behavior. Leasing, PCPs are now over 80% of the market. We're familiar with it. It will continue to change. If I look at the way that the sector is moving, yes, we're moving into financial products in a way never heard of before. It goes further. Subscription services. Do people really want to spend money to buy a car? Or are they really now about using the car? Is it just about usage? When I look at younger people, what is it that they actually want? Well, I believe they want something that is different than's being offered today. Manufacturers have tried it. There have been initiatives where manufacturers have actually decided they'll get into this space and they'll provide the usage of vehicles. The funny thing is, it doesn't always work. This is a BMW and Mercedes initiative, and it failed. Why did it fail? Because, in my opinion, they weren't thinking differently enough. They weren't thinking big enough. They weren't imagining what could be the case. The future is about digital. Yes, we're talking about car manufacturers because they are the fundamental product that drives this whole thing that's behind us here today. The core product is a car, but it's the usage of that car that's different. And models are changing. We are becoming more familiar with the utilization of technology. Everybody knows we can do this these days. Go online and buy a car. My daughter, next generation down, she's just bought herself a new car. Did she want to go to a dealership? Actually, no, she didn't. She would perfectly happily buy the car online. She trusts the fact that that vehicle will be delivered and it will be as she expects it. There are people who are using technology now in a completely different way. And then there are people who are not. I look at the market and I see the way it develops. I see this company, 7 billion valuation. And I ask myself, is that really thinking differently? What are Cazoo doing that's different than any quality dealer can do today? My answer is nothing. I don't believe that that is the future of the sector. I believe we need to think differently and think more widely. One of the biggest things that will drive that? Well, it's going to come. It's going to be electric vehicles. And we've got a valuation now on Tesla of $1 trillion. But as the other manufacturers bring their cars to market, their electric vehicles to market, is that sustainable? And is it different enough? My argument is, no, it's not. My argument is, it is about thinking broader again. It's about resetting the mindset. It's about imagining what we really could do. And that's where I start to talk about mobility. What is it that people are actually buying? Is it a car? Or is it transport? Or is it mobility? Or is it functionality? What is it? And when we look at businesses, say we, the team I work with, we think outside the current model. We imagine what we could possibly do that would suit the customer's needs, but in a different way. I believe it's not about how successful you are. It is about how successful you want to be, and then it's about using a structured approach to achieve it. It's about daring to dream about what is possible. And I break that down into 3 pieces. The first is to commit. What is it we're going to do? What is it we're actually going to do? What is it we're going to create? What is it we're going to achieve? And it's about absolutely committing to that. The second is connect. It's connect. How do we connect the pieces together? If we have a vision of success, we know what it's going to look like, How do we make sure everybody can join the dots? Everybody understands how they're going to be part of creating that vision of success. The third piece is create. And I call that creating magic. It's when we're having fun. In our businesses, we try to have fun. We try to build things that we look back on and say, look, we're proud of that and we've had fun doing it. And I've written some stuff on LinkedIn recently, and I'm getting comments from people I worked with 20 years ago saying, hey, and we had fun. Hey, we created that. And that is what it's about. Because to me, when you bring those pieces together, I call that inspiration. Our job, you're all leaders. Our job as leaders is to make sure our teams are inspired, that they want to come to work in the morning, they want to create something, they want to do something that's exciting, that's interesting, where they have fun. It starts with commit. That's about making a positive decision to change, to drive change, to recognize if you stand still, the market will pass you. It's something people have said forever. But it's about making that change. It's about imagining what we could do. You can do it even when times are difficult. The last 2 years have been particularly difficult for a lot of companies. Today, you know, the biggest challenge is we can't sell cars because we haven't got chips. Well, that's a challenge, but let's imagine the opportunities that that creates. If I think back, I was asked to run Porsche when Porsche was in a terrible state. I mean, we were that close to complete failure, that close. There were 32 brands in the marketplace at that point. Out of 32 brands, in terms of customer satisfaction, we were number 32. Nowhere to go below that. We were losing 20% on sales. I had 3 years unsold new car inventory. We were hiding cars everywhere. You want a car? No problem. I got 10. I had 3 years of unsold inventory. What do? Where'd you begin to change that? And my first board meeting, and there's a guy now who is chairman and chief executive Bentley who was in that meeting. I had my parts director and my finance director fist fighting on the floor. They were fighting. That's how great the stress was at that point. And we said, what should we do? What can we do with this brand? And somebody said, you know what, we should be in the top 10. We're Porsche. And somebody else said, no, we should be in the top 3. And then one guy, that's Adrian Hallmark now at Bentley, said, Kev, we should be number 1. I said, number 1. Yeah, we should be number 1. But that means we have to think completely differently. We took that business apart and we put it back together again. We transformed the way that we worked with our dealers. I did a crazy thing. People tell me I was crazy. I invited some of my dealers to come and join my board. And people say, Kev, you can't do that. They're what? They're the competition? Don't be ridiculous. They are my partners. And if we can't make our dealers profitable, we won't be profitable. But we have to transform the way the dealers think. In 4 years, we took that business from number 32 to number 1. We went from losing 20% on sales to being the most profitable car business in the sector. We were making 20% on sales. Instead of having 3 years inventory, we had 1 year forward order bank. We transformed the business with the same team of people. But what we did was say to them, think differently. Think differently. Aim high. Imagine what could be possible in this business. Today I get asked to go and fix companies. And when I go in, I say, what's your plan? And they say, 3%, 4%. I say, great. Let me give you a challenge. How could you do 30%? And they go, oh, Kev, come on, that's crazy. I say, okay, let me take the 30% away. And you can see they relax. I say, how could you do 300%? And they go, you're crazy. I say, no, I'm not. One of my businesses, and this is absolutely true, one of my businesses in the last 3 years has grown by 2,000%. It's not a startup. I'm going to share it with you in a minute. We think differently. I say to people, think differently. Imagine if I gave you all the resource, if I gave you all the people and all the money, all the technology you want, what would you do differently? Take those limits away. What would you do differently? Well, you see people start to think and imagine and discuss. And we start laughing because we have crazy ideas. Right, let's catch the crazy idea. Let's change it. Let's change the world. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years of my life. Since I walked away from BMW, I've built 15 companies. So far, I've had one failure. And that was because the CEO stole a lot of money out of the bank account. But that's another story. It is about believing we can do things differently. Let me give you an example. This is the business that I went into 4 years ago. We build fiber networks. Company was successful. We were laying fiber networks in local industrial estates, hospitals, schools. We were doing these contracts, and the business was kind of getting by. But it was slowly sinking, running out of cash. These are cash-intensive projects, and it was starting to go wrong. And I was asked by some of the investors, would I go and have a look? And when I went in there, I said, what are we actually trying to do? Well, we're connecting people. Yeah, so connecting people to what? Well, to the internet. Yeah, think wider, to the world. Right, so let's stop talking about building local networks, and let's think about what we're actually creating. We're creating connectivity for the world. So we invented a new brand. We call it Faster Britain. It's a completely different mindset than the local tech company. We are now Faster Britain. Where do you want to go? Oh, we'll go to Faster Britain. Now, underneath that, and don't tell anybody this, we are working with a number of local suppliers because we don't yet have the network to do the whole of the country. But we're backfilling it, we're building it. But right now, we are seen as a national brand. Result of that, we can go to people and say, wherever you are, whatever you need, we can provide it. And we do provide it. Oh, and by the way, we provide it faster than anybody else because we use existing infrastructure. Oh, and by the way, we can do it less expensively than everybody else. Oh, and by the way, we will guarantee to install your gigabit pipe in 3 weeks. And then we deliver on that. And when we first spoke about that, people said, you're crazy, you can't do it. I said, no, we have to do it. How can we do it? So we changed the mindset. We've just won the contract to fiber the whole of Liverpool, the whole city of Liverpool. So we're not now doing the local industrial estate, we're doing cities. We've also done Nottingham, Bristol, Hereford, Greenwich, Manchester, and. It's transformed our business. This business has grown at 2,000%. It'll grow another 150% next year. We've gone from having a tiny business to a business of really substantial scale. And it's exciting. And we're winning awards because we are thinking differently. This one's the Innovation Award. We had the Best Connectivity Award. We've had the Best ISP Provider in Britain Award, all in the last 12 months because we're thinking differently. But you have to understand what you're setting out to build. It's the connect piece. How do we make sure everybody in the business understands what it is that we're setting out to build? How do we do that? Because that is the crux of it. Making sure everybody knows how they play a part in it. And the truth is, we start at the end. What is it we want to create? With ITS, it was Faster Britain. We want to be the #1 alternative ISP in the UK. #1. And people said, you're mad. I said, yeah, but let's get there. At Porsche, we want to be #1. At BMW, we want to transform the business. Start at the end. What does success look like? And then come back to here. Because if I start there and come back to here, that's a straight line. If I start here and think I'm going over there somewhere, before we know it, we're zigzag. Hey, the market's changed, technology's changed, competitive, and before we know it, we're zigzagging. No. Start there and work back to here. And then think about being world class. World class. Wherever I touch your brand, wherever I touch your business, online, offline, people has to be world class. And it's not just what do I see, it's what do I hear. If I walk into your business, what do I hear? What do I hear? Do people have product knowledge? Do they show respect? Do they understand what they're talking about? And does the product back that up? Wherever you touch the brand has to be world class. And it's something I learned a long time ago, that price is not a number. Price is an experience. One of the biggest mistakes we were making in the premium brand vehicle sales sector was we thought we were selling a car. We weren't. We were selling an experience. That's a £1 million car there. Or the way cars are moving at the moment, that's a £1.5 million car there. When people come in the showroom to buy one of those, they're not coming in to buy a car, they're coming in to buy an experience. They don't have to have one of them. That's not a great car to go shopping in. I can tell you from experience, it's not a great car to take the kids to school in, because you get in the car park, you never get out again because you're surrounded by kids and parents. We're selling something different. We're creating something different. By the time people come into your showrooms or into your business, they've already made their mind up mostly what they want. It's about making sure you stand out by providing that world-class experience. That's the thing people remember. They'll go away and say, hey, that was great fun. That was a great experience. The way we do it is we build a plan. We build a plan. We make it very, very simple. We talk about what that vision of success is. We know what that looks like. But then how do we engage people? Well, here's a plan from one of our businesses. This is how simple we make it. We spend a lot of time building this plan. We spend a lot of time making it simple. Because if I make it super complicated, it never gets done. If I make it simple and people can engage with it, it gets done. You'll see it's handwritten. It's handwritten because that makes it friendly. It's not a PowerPoint file. It's not an Excel file, because if I send you an Excel file, what do you do with it? Well, the clue's in the second word. You typically file it. Whereas this goes on the wall. This is what we talk about. This is how we engage people. This is how we let people see how they make a difference. How do what I do, how does that change the way we go? We make it very open. In our businesses, these are on the wall. People write on them. People scribble ideas on them. This is really simple stuff. But the dynamic is huge. Because the way we make it live is our board meetings, we don't hold behind closed doors. We go and stand with a team in front of this plan, and we talk about where we're going. And then somebody will have an idea. We say, well, come and join the board. So the team come and join the board, and they'll tell us where we're going. And they go home at night and say, hey, do you know what I was doing today? I was in the board today. Wow. Yeah, and the board were listening to me. Yeah, because you know how to do your job better than I do. I don't know how to fix a car, build a boat, build a fiber network, but you do. So come and join the board and help us to get better at what we do. It's not about being a genius. Leadership is not about being a genius. It's about being a genius creator. You know, they say everybody is 5% genius. Everybody. So if I can get 20 people and they're 5% aiming at the same goal, then I've got a complete genius. So in this room today, that's one genius, two geniuses, not sure about you lot actually, three geniuses.
You are invited to share in the 2 minute silence.
I make it 5-2. 5-2.
In 5 minutes time,
5 minutes. Okay.
the chimes of Big Ben will mark the beginning of the silence.
So it is about creating genius in the business by engaging and inspiring people. It's about using their knowledge, using their passion of the entire team to engage and focus on the same opportunity, on the same vision of success. And in our sector, in the automotive sector, right now, it couldn't be more exciting. It couldn't be more exciting. Electric vehicles are going to transform this industry. Does anybody know how yet? No, but they are. Servicing requirements are going to be very different. Manufacturers are going to take more control of the distribution network, is my expectation. Consumers are going to change the way they buy cars because they'll be worried about the replacement cost of batteries. So it will change the dynamic further. And it's about understanding how we can focus that to provide to ourselves the opportunity to grow and be successful. Focused imagination. Make sure we know where we're going. But it's about doing it quickly. I talk to businesses who say, we got a 3-year plan. We're okay. We know where we're going. I say, look, guys, forget 3 years. 3 years. Subset of 3 years is 1 year. People think in a year. I say, no. Let's change that. We've got to move quickly. Got to move fast. So what we do in our business is we build a 1,000-day plan, which is kind of 3 years. But the difference with 1,000 days is we count every day. So this is the plan from ITS. This is the business that's grown at 2,000% this year. Now, you'll see this one's not handwritten because they're techies and they can't write. So this is the plan, and it says day 775 at the top. Tomorrow, that will say 774, 773s. And we count down the days. And we say to people, we move in days. We change stuff in days. We make decisions now and we move. And if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. We keep moving. We keep going. Because what we're doing is engaging everybody in creating magic. Having fun. Owning the change. Building something that is extraordinary and believing it. Being inspired by it. Because I hear again and again, yeah, Kev, but it's about technology. No, it's not. It's not. Technology is an enabler. Do not let technology run your business. Online is just another way of communicating with your customers. Do not let that run your business. The value comes at the interface, where I touch your sales staff, where I speak to your dealership or your technology company, or whatever the service provider is that you offer. That's where the value is created. It's at that interface. And in our businesses, that's where we spend so much time making that experience world-class. But it's about treating people properly. It is about treating people as grown-ups. I despair when I see how much effort some companies go to nail people down. Expenses policy, travel policy, work policy. No, just treat people as grown-ups and they will pay it back to you tenfold. Treat people like grown-ups. Recognize that there's no such person as an onlyer in business. She's only a sales director. He's only a programmer. No such person as an onlyer. Everybody has a job to do, and if they're not doing it, that's a different conversation. If that role's not appropriate, why is it in the business? There's no such person as an onlyer. Everybody has a part to play in creating something extraordinary. We talk about building leaders at every level. I want people in my companies who will take responsibility at every level and make the change. Don't ask for permission. You know where we're going, you know what the plan is, make it happen. So it's about creating leaders at every level. Not only delegating authority, but delegating accountability. Leadership isn't about how much power you've got, it's about how much you can give away. So we push the opportunity for driving change through the organization, letting everybody make those decisions. And you know what? Sometimes it goes wrong. It really does. I got 45 minutes this morning to tell you how it goes right. If you want me to tell you how it goes wrong, well, give me 2 days up here and I'll walk through it with you. But that's the reality of it. But by accepting that we've made mistakes and stepping back and relaying those tracks and going again, we use it as an opportunity to learn. You never lose. You either win or you learn. And learning is valuable. Our job is to make sure we catch people in. So when it goes right, we say thank you. Great job, well done. Thank you. When it goes wrong, we have a quiet conversation. Don't ever want somebody to feel bad because they tried something and it didn't work, because they were trying it, knowing what our vision of success looked like, and believing that what they were doing was helping us to get there. And so if it didn't work, that's great. Let's understand why it didn't work and let's go again. So it really is about developing a culture whereby people are inspired to drive the change. Don't wait for the MD to make the decision. You'll wait forever. She's a busy guy. Drive the change through the whole team. And by doing that, you know, I've had a lot of fun over the last 20 years. We built 15 companies. We've created, as you heard, £3 billion in shareholder value. Made a lot of people very wealthy. I've lived off the crumbs that dropped off the table. But we've had a lot of fun. We've built some great businesses. And I think the automotive sector right now is at such an exciting point. Consumer trends are changing. Distribution methods will change. And electric vehicles will drive a whole bunch of change. Put that together, and the best leaders and the most inspired teams are going to go out and they're going to create something quite extraordinary. And so I hope that's you. I wish you every success in doing it. And thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, thanks very much for that superb presentation. I don't think AM was responsible for any of those stories about affairs with chairmen's wives, so I don't think we can pin that on us.
No.
Could I invite up onto the stage to join us for the Q&A session Matthew Simpkins, Senior Director Automotive at our sponsor Salesforce. Where are you, Matthew? Okay, he's gone a bit shy. Hopefully he will join us. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions of Kevin. I will start, though, just by asking Kevin, I mean, you talked about, a lot around change of mindset, change of culture. You talked about your own project, Inspire.
Yeah.
I've heard said so many times that people fear or are resistant to change.
Yep.
Do you believe that? And if you do, how do you bring people along on that transformational journey?
I think people are initially resistant to change. I think there's an initial fear, and it's the old school fear of, does change mean I'm going to lose my job or I'm going to get demoted, you know, all that stuff. And the way I approach it is to start at the other end. Where are we going? What's the opportunity? And you'll be part of this. And I was explaining to somebody earlier on about, I took over a boat company about 5 years ago. And this company had lost money for 10 years. 10 years. And it was kind of the last roll of the dice. And it was owned by a big bank. And the bank asked me, would you go in and have a look? And I met the team. We had 7 factories about as big as this hall. And I met the team, and I stood up for 10 minutes. I expected to stand for 10 minutes to just introduce myself. And I had 2,000 people standing in front of me. And I was there for an hour because they were asking me a lot of questions. And they were giving me a lot of hard time. And when I asked them what the problem was, they said, you are. And I said, well, I've only been here 5 minutes. Give us a chance. And they said, no, leadership never listens. And I said, okay, let me turn that around. And I think sometimes you've got to do things that are quite radical in order to get the message across. So for an hour, they were moaning and carrying on about their bonuses and salaries and stuff. And that was what was really hacking them off, even though this business was about to go bust. And I asked them what their problem was, took it on board, and then overnight, literally overnight, with the production director and the finance director, we worked out a new plan for how we could pay this team for what they produced. And when they came on shift at 8 in the morning, we already had a presentation and a screen set up. And when they walked in, it was like, what are you doing here? Well, we want to give you your answer. And so we changed overnight the pay scheme, the bonus scheme, and various other things. And they were blown away that somebody had actually listened to them. And that was the first start of changing the culture. And it's about being honest, being humble, and saying, we're really in this together. We really are. So we'll make the change. So you've got to demonstrate the change. You've got to, you've got to be the change. And that's the reality of it. So that's how we do it. We're just very honest and very open.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? Oh, you're a shy lot today, aren't you?
Chris,
here's one at the front. There we go.
Kev, I've known you a little while, so I'm aware of a lot of the adventures you've done. What's the next adventure?
Next adventure.
And what inspires you to get up and do what you do every day? Because you don't need the money, right?
Oh, I do. So last year I do a lot of adventures with my son. And last year we rowed across the Atlantic and set a new world record for the fastest row. And on Monday this week, we placed the deposit on a boat and we're going to row across the Pacific. So if you ever want to get away from your wife for a while, and I mean, hey, I've been with my wife for 40 years, so I do need a break now and then. So we're going to go and row across the Pacific. That's the next plan. Oh, and next year we're going to go and canoe down the Yukon for 1,000 miles, but that's just a holiday. But the year after, 23, we're going to row the Pacific. And what makes me get up in the morning? Because I love what I do. You know, we build great companies, we have a lot of fun, and it's just exciting. I've just started a new business now. I called it Smarter Britain. You heard it here first, folks. It's not even a website yet, but it's called Smarter Britain, and my whole objective is to help. Right, let's not talk politics, but at the minute, I think our politics are a bollocks. So unless we actually get a grip on the economy of this country, Brexit is going to end up, you know, it's too early to judge, blah, 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 but it's going to end up being a disaster. And I'm not a politician, but I look at the economy and I think we need to do better. What do we need? We need a fresh thrust of energy of new businesses coming through. And so I want to help young people to start those businesses. And I'm not looking for the next dot-com unicorn billionaire. I'm looking for the kid from Moss Side in Manchester who wonders what their future is, and instead of going and dealing drugs, let me help you to start a business. And it might be washing windows, it might be washing cars, it might be doing, I don't know what, but let me help you to get a future. And from that, we'll find the entrepreneurs. And last night, I was in Leeds last night, speaking to 120 very successful entrepreneurs, and inviting them to help me to engage and create this community whereby we'll help people to build new businesses. So that's my next adventure. But I'm doing that not to make money. It's not about making money. It's about making new entrepreneurs. It's about building futures for people, helping people build their own futures. So that's what I'm doing next.
You mentioned Brexit, and it's one of a number of challenges that we're going through with the pandemic, with supply chain issues. We've had recessions in the past. What are those sort of defining or differentiating factors that enables a business not just to survive, but to actually thrive through those types of challenges?
Yeah, well, look, a business has got to be resilient, it's got to be agile. And we don't know what the outcome of Brexit's going to be. I was reading the newspaper this morning, and you know, we're still negotiating, and we're going to invoke this protocol and that protocol. Who the heck knows what the outcome is? We don't. I don't. But if I were running a business, unfortunately, I'm not running a business right now where a major component is export, but I would be radically thinking about how I can change or adapt my processes to be more flexible. You've got to be flexible. Because, look, I'm old enough, I've run businesses through Black Friday, Black Monday, Pink Wednesday, and Shrove Tuesday. I've been through them all. And every time people tell me the world's going to finish, and the world doesn't finish. But if you're not able to react to those situations, then you will find yourself in trouble. So it's about being agile. And I always say, make the decision quickly. Make it quickly. Don't sit there and be the frog that gets boiled slowly. Decide where you're going and go there.
Still looking out for those sea of hands. Here we go, another question at the front.
And I know we've heard a lot about electric cars obviously being the future, but if you're still in charge of BMW or Porsche, I know Porsche is investing heavily in synthetic fuels, what would your approach be to those kind of alternative fuel types?
To those vehicles? Well, look, I think you saw it on the slides. There are two things in terms of financial analysts and their valuations. You know, valuing Kazoo at $7 billion to me is just why? I mean, John, what do Kazoo do that you and your group don't? Nothing. Nothing. So it's not a new way. So I find that frustrating. I mean, I wish Kazoo all the success in the world. It's fine. But I don't think that's the future because it's not different. When I look at cars, electric cars, you know, Tesla's valued at $1 trillion. But just look at the great cars that are coming from, I showed them, from Volvo and Lexus and Porsche and BMW, all these electric vehicles, Mercedes, all the brands we know. When they have got a full suite of electric vehicles, what is Tesla's USP? Because I don't see it. Yeah, we own some of our own charging network. Yeah, big deal. Great. It's like owning petrol stations. So what? There's going to be eventually there'll be a proliferation of charging. That will be overcome. The question is whether the UK's got enough generating capacity to power those chargers. That's a different question. But if I were at BMW right now, I would be looking at mobility as the theme. What can we do? What is different in the way that you're going to provide to me mobility? Because my car, Kev's car right now, my car, I drive an Audi all-road A6. Great car, it's 5 years old, goes like a train, but you know what? Might be time to change it. But I'm struggling to convince myself to write another check for 75 grand, which is what I did last time. So I'm thinking, I'm an old man. My kids have already been there and come back. I'm thinking, what is the solution to give me the flexibility, the mobility I want? Because every day I want to drive a 911. Actually, it's what I want to drive every day. But when I move furniture, it's not, 911's not great for furniture, so how do I fix that? So I'm trying to imagine mobility solutions for people. And I live in Newbury, Berkshire, so when I go into town, actually I only need a two-seater electric vehicle. That's all I need. And my wife, who never drives more than 30 miles, she only ever needs a little electric vehicle. That's the truth of it. So I would be thinking in terms of mobility solutions and providing that opportunity for people to have flexibility. And I don't know what the answer is, but that's what I would be thinking.
Is it difficult for dealers to undergo transitional change when so much control, or manufacturers have so much control over the way that cars are retailed? I mean, how, when you have those kind of constraints, how much change can you actually affect?
Yes, I think it is, and I think manufacturers need to broaden their thinking. I mean, I look back now and I shudder at some of the things we used to impose on dealers. I really do, because now I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm looking at it from the other end of the telescope, and I'm thinking, we really used to tell you had to have a Luca bond on the front of your showroom, even though that stuff is 10 times the price of something that looks similar, but that's what we used to do. And I think that's got to go away. And I think, look, you see it all around. Manufacturers are putting just the brand on the showroom now. They are seeking to take control. So if I were a retailer, I would be looking at alternative retail models. And I'd potentially be setting that up as a separate business ready to go. So I'd be experimenting with a separate company.
Okay. Any final questions before we wrap up? Here we go, one at the front. Mic's on its way.
Kevin, thank you. A great talk. Can I ask
I can't hear you.
Well, what about now?
Well, keep going.
Better? Can I ask you, you've shared with us various approaches when you're trying to create change in a situation where you've set up a part, i.e. with Epics, or where you've transformed the existing business with Fast Britain. Can you share a bit about how you evaluate in any given situation which is the right approach of those two?
Yeah, so how do we evaluate how we're going to drive change? Whether it's inside the business or outside. The truth is we start with the vision of success. What is it we're trying to create? And then we look at our own business and we take it apart. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the boat business, one of the things that was killing us was parts delivery. So when I took over as full-time CEO, and there was a pile on my desk like this, and I know you're all rich people with your fancy boats, and we had people who'd spent 1, 2, 5 million quid on a boat, and they drive this boat for 3 weeks a year, and 6 months after they asked for a part, they still hadn't got it. And I said, well, this is crazy. And they said, Kev, you don't understand. This is the marine industry. This is normal. And I said, no, you don't understand. I come from BMW, where we could deliver 98% of our parts overnight, be at the dealership by 6 in the morning, and that's what I expect. And they said, no, I said, look, you've got to understand that your competitor to your 5 million quid boat isn't necessarily another 5 million quid boat. It is a LaFerrari or a house in Barbados or a light aircraft or whatever else these people want to spend their money on. And you've got to change the experience. So they told me it wasn't possible. And I could not get the team in the logistics department to get this in their head. I couldn't get it. So I drafted in a an external, I think it was DHL, remember now, but we went out, we got a specialist logistics company because the biggest problem was around the customs management. And we implanted this business in the middle of our warehouse, and we put their systems in place, and within 6 months, we were delivering 80% overnight. And that then seeded the change in thinking. And I think it was DHL. DHL was still there when I left, but I'm sure over time they would have left. And, you know, so you have to go outside sometimes to get the revised thinking. And certainly the turnaround at Porsche, we took the leadership team out. We went to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group. We went to airlines. We went to EasyJet. We went and sat with Stelios and said, how do you do this in such an efficient way? And, you know, we had a great relationship with EasyJet because they were the first paperless airline, the first one I knew. And we stole a bunch of their systems and implanted them into our company. And he came to us and saw how we provided customer, and he took stuff back. So we go out and we listen, I steal ideas from anywhere. Honestly, I steal stuff from anywhere. Ideas, concepts, bring them in. Get people thinking.
Okay, any final questions? Okay, well, thanks, Kevin. Please join me in thanking Kevin for a superb presentation.
Thank you.